Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Crafty with Jackie, and today I'm going to show you how I write crochet patterns and how you too can crochet anything. Well, maybe not quite anything, but let's just get into it. So basically, if you find a shirt or sweater that you really love and want to crochet, I guarantee you can crochet it too, just with using 2 simple stitches, maybe 3 simple stitches. But that's either using a double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet. Those are probably all the stitches you're going to need to do majority of cardigans and t-shirts or vests, sweaters, jerseys. All to say that. So I decided to do a 2.0 version of my crochet jersey for the design that I did for the Buccaneers NFL WAG number 17. Yeah, I decided that when I got the DM to make a custom jersey, she liked the jersey I already made, the blue and white and black one. However, she then decided that she liked a certain knit look jersey, so I decided, okay, I can try to do my best with that, and tried I did, and I succeeded. So I'm going to share with you the tips that I did to get that jersey and how to do the pattern and how to make your own pattern. So in this jersey, I'll be sharing 2 different ways that I'm starting patterns, and all of which you can make during or after this video if you'd like by checking out becraftywithjackie.etsy.com, where you can get the patterns yourself. Or if you want custom orders, feel free to slide in my DMs on Instagram or TikTok at Crafty with Jackie. But let's get into it. So, how I make my patterns is pretty basic. I don't do anything super fancy. I just have me and my iPad. And I use Freeform, which is just free in the pad. So basically here is how I wrote up my Jersey 2.0 pattern. That's a lot of writing. And to think that it goes from all this jibber jabber writing to a condensed like 4 to 5 page PDF file for you guys to understand, it blows my mind. But somehow my brain, it just, when I'm working on it, I write it all down just so I know, and then I can go back and revise so it becomes nice and organized so I can follow it again, you guys can follow it, etc. When I start anything, I think about how many panels will it need. So for the jersey, for example, sweaters, vests, you're going to need 2 main panels. You have a front panel and you have a back panel. So when you're thinking about your back panel, that's most likely going to be the most solid panel because there's no V-neck, there's no, whatever you're going to add, that's the solid panel. So you always are going to want to start, I like to start with the back panel first because it's usually the longest, takes the longest to do. And then when it comes to the front panel, you can then decide if you want a V-neck, if you want it to be like regular, like you can kind of really just play it to your style. You can just keep it solid as well and let it kind of drape. I liked the V-neck, especially for the jersey. So when I do the pattern, if I already have a jersey, I like to measure how deep down the V-neck is so I know at that point where to mark it when I'm working on my patterns, because that's what's really helpful when you're working on patterns, is knowing the measurements. So measurements are key, especially if you already have like a garment, because you can make any crochet item any size. And so if, like, for example, if you have the crochet jersey pattern and you want to make it for your husband or your boyfriend and they're a 2 or 3XL, and let's say, you're like, oh shoot, Jackie, your pattern's for a woman's large. What do I do? This is what you do. And I kind of try to break it down in the pattern as well, but this kind of helps too as I write my patterns as well. So when you write your pattern or make it customized, what is key is either you can Google the measurements for the standard like 2 or 3XL size for men's or unisex, or if you already have his like favorite sweater or their favorite sweater, measure the length of where the sleeve panel, before the sleeves get attached, you'll see a paneling. See, like on this garment I'm wearing, this is where the sleeves come in. This is one main panel. So measure with your garment length flat to where before the sleeves start, all the way across to the other side, and that's going to be your width. That's your width. And then to get the length, you just measure how long it is. And then same when you get to your arm sleeves, measure from here to the arm, because you attach the arm sleeve here. So that's all you got to do. It's just a few simple measurements. And then as you're crocheting, once you get your width, let's say your width is like 30 inches. Let's just throw that out there. You're going to chain. You're just going to chain away, crochet chain away until with your measuring tape, you reach that about 30 inches. Sometimes I do a chain less or a couple chains less. Sometimes it stretches depending on the things. Maybe take off 2 chains and it'll be like a perfect fit. And then you just work in the half double crochet or double crochet all the way back and forth. And then after the first row, it's good to measure how long it is. You might have to restart a few times. It's not perfect. But if you like it a little bit bigger or a little bit, depending on how many you change, just measure it. Measuring is key. Then once you have your base foundation chain is the perfect measurement that you like it, work that as tall, as long as it needs to be. That'll be your back paneling. The same thing applies for the front paneling, so make sure you write down the measurement for that customized size that you're doing for that sweater. Then when it comes to making the V-neck, you can really decide how low, how high you want your V-neck to be, and you can either just measure that on your own body, like where start at your shoulder and down here, you know, like where, how low you'd like it to go. I recommend that as well. I did that too. And when I was working on the custom jersey order for the wag, NFL wag, that was a little bit hard. I was kind of like sweating partially throughout it because I'm like, oh shoot, it'd be so much greater and easier if like she was in the state of Michigan. Like I'm from Michigan and she's all the way in Tampa, like Tampa Bay, so in Florida. So I was like, oh no, like I wish I could just like go knock on her door, like try it on during each process. But what's key is knowing the size. So I was able to find a medium-sized sweater that I used from like high school when that was like oversized on me in high school. And I use that for reference. So it's really good to have references and to know the garment size as well. I recommend that too when you're making any garment. So it'll be fit like a glove if you already have this particular garment size. If not, sticking to measurements can be easy, but sometimes visually having that garment as well is really helpful. So then as I begin making my patterns, I just write down what I do, how many rows or how many inches, and then I come back and I organize it. And then same with the V-neck. Doing a V-neck is pretty similar with every V-neck. I work the same pattern for the ribbing, and it just depends how low or high you want it. So like right now I'm currently working on a crochet hockey jersey. Yes, hockey fans, get ready. I have a hockey jersey. I'm doing a Red Wings jersey because I'm from Michigan and the Detroit Red Wings is a big team, even though I secretly am a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. However, maybe I'll make my Toronto Maple Leafs jersey next. I wanted to start off with a Red Wings jersey because I actually have a Red Wings solid basic. It's just a red and white with the wing logo, no name or anything on it. It's just a solid jersey. So I'm using that for reference as I work this pattern. But basically, all I'm working on is thinking about how many panels to a front and back, and you have sleeves. That's it. 4 main things. Then when it comes down to the style of it, I liked the solid color. So when the girl sent me the reference photo, this one, and then how I got to this is because I just stuck to the solid double crochet because that's what looked the most like that. She also didn't want it super mesh. So the weight of the yarn also impacts the level of, I guess, like the feel and how it lays on the person. So I wanted a weight 4 yarn and a 5.5mm crochet hook so it would work up like a little bit more solid. Really just about knowing the garment, the size, and putting it together. So once you have it done, it's just assembling it, and how you assemble it. I just do a basic single crochet to assemble all the panels together. And then some people like to work the sleeves as like 3rd and 4th smaller panels that they like then single crochet down. I just like to work it on the sleeve, on the garment directly. And then every row I like flip it so it goes back and forth. For example, when I saw the hockey jersey, this jersey bidding, I decided, okay, let's use a garment that has my size I already have. So I measured that. And so the width of my hockey jersey that I wanted for like an oversized woman's maybe large feeling was a width of 26 inches and then a length of 30. So with that, I then decided, okay, I need to measure how many stitches. So I did about 76 stitches at first, and that was too big. So then I took 2 off, and then about a 74 was perfect. So then as I worked half double crochets down, you'll have 73 stitches. I did 73 stitches for the base paneling, and I had 73 half double crochets. So I'm working half double crochet for this jersey because it gives you a more solid look than a double crochet does. And it works up quicker than a single crochet. Single crochet, I feel like I'd be here all day working on it. So I decided to do half double crochet, and I now have 2 panels that I can show you really quick. I have worked the back paneling of my Red Wings jersey with a red yarn. I bought just like a pound of yarn, the Karen 1 pound yarn from Michaels, because I knew that this would take up a lot. So I think you'll just need one of these big skeins to do it. But we will see what happens. So now I'm starting to work the front panel and working the neckline. I wanted it to be a little bit deeper of a neck. It won't be too deep actually, but it'll fit kind of like, it'll start here. So I kind of want a little bit baggier, a little bit more stylistic of a jersey I'm going for. So I decided to use, so basically when you're doing your crochet, you're taking inspiration and making it into your own design. You're not going to it's not going to be perfect, you're not going to copy it, but it's going to have its own touch and feel that you made uniquely to what you want to customize to. So I really liked this half double crochet stitching because look at how just it's stretchy, so it stretches a bit, it'll fall, and then it's also super solid. It's not super mesh or see-through like other stitches would be, like the double crochet is a little bit more see-through, where this felt more like a hockey jersey paneling. And so this doesn't measure the full 30 inches I think I want it to be, because I left it so that there's about 4 to 5 inches left to work at the bottom here, and that's where the white is going to go, because it's red and white. The color's red and white. The white's going to go on the bottom of the jersey when you see like a reference photo. Like I'll attach a reference photo here of like a Red Wings jersey that I'm inspired to do. And then the sleeves, the same thing. I'm going to work the same amount of rounds for the sleeves on both sides and making them an increase in the first round, and then keeping that all the way through until it's the length of a sleeve. So with that being said, you're probably thinking like, is it that simple? Maybe it's not that simple. It's to me, in my brain, this is just like you make 2 panels, you attach them, and then once you attach them and you, before I like to single crochet anything, I use these stitch markers like I have here in the middle for the V. I stitch mark them on top of each other, so they're like this, and then I try it on to make sure it fits the right length and size that I want before I then stitch up the sides. And I do single crochets. Make sure your work is turned inside out so that the pretty sides are facing each other and the ugly side is facing you, so that when you reverse it out, it'll look seamless and attach perfectly. So that's what I do. And then when it comes to the sleeves, making your sleeve to how big or how small you want it, again, measurement is key. It's all about measuring, and a little bit of imagination and a vision. All it takes is just some measurements, yarn, and your vision, and you can make it. I promise you. It doesn't take the first time. I restarted my custom jersey. Took me over like 13 hours to make for the girl for the girl that has her husband on the Buccaneers team. It took me 13 hours to make that jersey. For 13 hours straight, was I crocheting that jersey? No. What was part of that 13 hours? It was going to Michael's, getting the yarn. It was then looking at the reference photo. It was then getting measurements. It was then trying it off of measurements. It was then, I don't know if this is going to fit right. Let's see if I have a garment that does the right measurement. So there's a lot of trial and error that comes into making these patterns. So that's why I'm like really excited to share with them, because usually by the time it's on my Etsy, it's like proof free. Like I've worked 15 hours on this pattern. So I've been like pattern testing it myself and looking at other patterns, see how other people do it for inspiration, to make sure it's written cohesively and makes sense, so it's digestible. So all of that to say, it is not the easiest thing, but with time and practice and dedication, you can make any pattern or make anything you want and don't have to buy it, and just buy some yarn and just have some fun crafts all this fall and winter season. So when it comes to the sleeves though, and how I got the sleeve measurement for the custom jersey, again, I just used the garment. I used the garment of the sweater that I had. It was a size medium. And I just measured, you lay it flat, and I measured how big the armhole is. So you're going to measure how long your armhole is. And then you measure that on your paneling at the top, and you mark it, and then you do stitch, and then you don't stitch the full paneling. You want to leave the armhole open. So that measurement is then telling you where to go for the armhole. You then leave it open, single crochet the bottom, and you can begin to work your armhole, and then you're done. It just takes time. Like at first when I started working on this, I'm like, oh no, like this isn't looking right, but it's really about trusting the process, making sure you're working it through and giving yourself the time to make errors. And it's going to be frustrating if you're like 3 or 4 or 5 even rows into something and you're like, oh no, I didn't measure it, or the size doesn't look right, or I have to frog it all. But it comes out better every time you do it. That's what I kept telling myself. It's better the second time you do it, or it's better the third time you do it, because the more you do it, the better you get. And it's learning, and it's fun. It's supposed to be fun, right? I mean, it's not fun when you mess up, but it's supposed to be fun. And that's what I tell myself. It's all about a learning curve, and with enough practice and dedication, you can do it. So that's what I'm doing for this hockey jersey. I can come back more with some more updates and explain how I do this as this grows into the jersey itself. I'm going to give you a little preview of how the panels look. They're going to be separate. Then you attach them together. And then as I'm working, I just, right on my iPad, I made for the right arm sleeve 60 half double crochets, so I know, and then work that in the other arm sleeve. That's all you gotta do. A key tip that I learned from working on my custom order was that weaving in the ends as you go saves you so much time in the end, because the first time I did my crochet jersey, I waited till the very last minute to weave in my ends, and I took like an hour, maybe more, just weaving in ends, and I was like, I'm so over it. So you want to make sure that as you finish each paneling in every row that you do before you attach a new color or anything, you're just weaving in the ends and then cut it once it's weaved in and tied off and everything. So I'd recommend that as like a pro tip that I would take away, because if you save that for the end, it's gonna take forever. Also, I didn't iron on the patch when I got the patch, so I decided to do some hand sewing and then some fabric glue. I thought that was key, so it stays in place, but also on the garment, but it wouldn't like fall off if something happened, if it rubbed off. It's already like hand stitched in. But I don't think you can use, I don't know, comment below. I'm like too afraid to try it on my garments, but like I don't think you can add patchwork iron-on onto crochet. If you can, let me know. I would love to see how you do that, because it would save a lot of time. But that's probably something too that took a while, was just like hand sewing. All that being said, those are my secrets to how I make my patterns and how I'm able to give them out to you. If you want to learn anything else or anything of the crochet needs, comment below and I'd love to share.